Part dos. We should be okay. It says there's still a gig left of memory, so it only went third down, and that was after about 20, 30 minutes, I guess. I've been on this joint, so we should have another 30 minutes at least. So I'm gonna try to get this one out and see how that works. So here's the joint. Um, so to like give a foundation for this joint. Um, what I will share is this. Um, a number of years ago, a brother recommends a film to receive some insight, some guidance in terms of the faith of Islam. And the film is called The Message. So it's an English film. I think there's actually an Arabic version of it as well. I don't know if it's a separate production or if it's subtitled or whatever it is, just a different view. But this one's in English. It even stars one Anthony Quinn as Hamza. Um, but basically, it just gives a portrayal of the period, the emergence of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. And at one point during the narrative, um, the there is a conversation, and the conversation is between and Khaled, and my pronunciation is wanting. And as he professes the faith, as he performs shahada, and the story of Khaled is that he's a military dude. He's a fighter. He's a soldier. He's a warrior. He's a leader, and he fought against the Ummah. He never lost, even when fighting against the Ummah. And but he finds his way towards the faith, and so he converts. And in doing so, the character portrays him apologizing for the times that he stood against the Ummah and Prophet Muhammad. Saleh alayhi alayhi salah Allahu wa salam. May peace and blessings be upon him. Working on it. So the character or the actor portraying Bilal, who is a member of Ummah and very well known and revered within Islam. He's a freed slave who's been a member, a part of the Ummah from the beginnings, and he responds to Khaled's statement by saying Islam does away with all that went before, meaning that we understand, we know, but you're here now. You've awoken. You are part and parcel of who you are. So I'm waiting for that. And so uh, there's acceptance. There's recognition of what's in the past, and recognition of the atonement and the amends that are communicated, but also forgiveness and recognition that everybody's experienced certain disillusion additionally, but it's a matter of getting to a point where of awakening and continuing with a new discipline and a new consciousness and uh, resolve. So that basically that's what Bilal is saying, just in that one phrase. Um, so for those who are so inclined, it is very reassuring. It is a lifting of weight. It is very, if something is debilitating, it is very habilitating, meaning that okay, I don't have to carry on this guilty conscience because I haven't done perfect, and I can never undo what I previously have done. But I've learned better. I've redressed it, and it's recognized, and I can focus on doing better and helping others as I continue in life, rather than continuing to be weighted by the guilt from what I've previously done. Again, it's not undone. Like, I have to live with the consequences. However, rather than just beating myself on a daily basis because of that and being paralyzed by that, it's a matter of saying I've made amends to the degree that I need to, and or that I can, and that I can focus on increasingly productive and healing behavior and activities and service um, within this life. So that's that. Now, it's a very uplifting, positive, inspirational message and teaching. And so I'm reminded that of another situation going on a quarter of a century ago, the Million Man March. And Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam organized that along with other additional groups, but he's the figurehead. And I was a senior in university when that is convened. And I remember my frat organizes a trip from Virginia, the land of the Cherokee, um, to go to the Potomac area to participate in the Million Man March. We chartered a bus, and we invited other brothers from campus to join us in going to the event. And I remember very distinctly at about 4 a.m. when we were all getting ready to get on the bus, whatever. Oh, guess what? The bus don't show up. Chartered didn't come. It was very controversial. Arsenio Hall lost a job in the process, and additionally, so um, it was a very charged event because lots of people don't like Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. So, but even with the bus being refusing to come through last minute at 4 a.m., we scrambled. And this is one of the things I appreciate about the president of our chapter is that he coordinates just cats coming through with hoopties. So we had a caravan of hoopties. Us being at the bourgeoisie home by the sea, and additionally, and worrying about whips and everything else like that. When it came down to it, we just rolled with who was willing, who was down for the cause, and we went deep in hoopties, like piled up in each one, and we had a caravan of hoopties. There were probably maybe about 20 of us, maybe 25, that ended up going, but we made it, and there was over 1 million brothers there, and it was a beautiful experience. Now, one of the themes of the event, the theme of the event was atonement. Now, I was a little bit young to appreciate that principle and that experience, that discipline. I wanted to be part of people who were conscientious and wanted to do something, not just down for the struggle, but down for the cause and the upliftment. And so this is one of the things that was going on at the moment that was like, yo, this is something, yo, all right, let's do that. So that's what I was on. I was on like the community building aspect of it. I was like, whatever you think the theme is, it's got something to do with community upliftment. So when you say, what is it, atonement? Okay, cool. That doesn't sound too bad. All right, that's cool. Make amends for what we've done in the past. Okay, I can deal with that. Now, again, I was young. I wasn't processing this because I wasn't still thinking about what I had done, particularly to women at that point. And that was one of the focus of the atonement of what we men have done to the women. So later, after that, as I continue on my spiritual path, and I increasingly learn about atonement, Yom Kippur, Paryashan, and additionally, I get a finer appreciation for that revelatory nature of atonement and forgiveness, the power of forgiveness. And it's miraculous, y'all. It's miraculous. The highest form of love, actually, I contend. The greatest power, the most powerful word, the most powerful word in the English language. The, the highest giving of oneself. That's literally what the meaning of it is. Forgiveness. The highest offering of oneself. So, anyways, I learned better about what atonement is, and I do further atone for the things I've done, recognizing what I have done, and make amends accordingly. And again, there's no undoing, and in many ways, it's very difficult to connect with all the people that we've harmed in the past. In addition, but the point I'm making with all this is this: when we look at Black folk, on this land of Turtle Island, the U.S. particularly. There is an experience of affliction, oppression, atrocities against black folk. Um, and some people want to get into what was referred to in the conversation as like the oppression Olympics. So without getting into that, without comparing it one way or the other against natives, against women, or whatever else, what I'll say is this. First of all, I always say black folk need to provide due recognition and respect and relationship with the native brethren, and if particularly black folk want to be on this land. Um, that's one conversation. But with that being said, what I will say is this, and so without comparing the native struggle with the black struggle, I will say this: as devastating and decimated as native brethren are, the one thing that native brethren have generally is continuing um, proximity with one's ancestral land. Now, that's not. I'm not saying. I'm not going to frame it in the form of comparison, but I'll say it a different way. Black folk are without a state, without sovereignty, and without land. And so, as in terms of being a community, and again, many people say, "Well, what are you talking about? Native people are the Trail of Tears." My blood is Seminole, so I know that. We're talking about all the other afflictions about the residential schools, in addition. Um, so again, I'm not comparing. I'm not valuing one over the other. I'm just saying black folk without sovereignty and without land, disconnected. 400 years. That's beyond biblical proportions. And that's the weight we're talking about at this point, beyond biblical proportions. For over 400 years, there has been this situation: enslavement, oppression. The enslavement continues. It's just written in a different way. The policies are written in a different way and carried out in a different way. There's still lynchings. There's still incarceration and forced detainment. There's still raping and poisoning and hate. Uh, Regardless of what the smiley faces are on the screens. 400 years, biblical proportion. Now, that being said, that experience, that history, that credibility also provides a tremendous amount of power. Black folk have a tremendous amount of power to be the stewards of an era of reconciliation. That don't mean, oh, all's forgiven and oh, let's just pretend we're friends again and give us a bigger slice of the pie. Now that's not what we're talking about. Reconciliation. It means ourselves, evaluating ourselves, owning up to, being honest about the things, the wrongs we have done, and changing, awakening, accepting, amending, and ascending. Individually and collectively. And through doing that, establishing a word, forum, an awareness, a culture, a movement, an era, an evolutionary stage of civilization, of reconciliation. Like what Bilal says about Islam, does away with all that went before it. Establishing that type of powerful, transformational awakening within sentience of Earth that says, yo, we were doing this before, we're done with that. Now we're going to do this. And there's just readily awareness of that and adherence to that. Black folk have that power at this moment. Now, some people might say, well, that's blasphemous. Only God can do that. Only God can forgive this and the other. How does God work? Through what? Through whom does God work? There is that potential. There is that propensity. There is that guidance. And it's other than what happens in South Africa. It's other than the Truth and Reconciliation Act of tribunals and amnesty and this, that, and the other for confessions and testimonials and bearing witness. All that's relevant, all that's important, but that ain't what I'm talking about. It ain't formal. It's not written. It's not doctrinal. It's not formalized. It just happens. Guys be like, yo, I want some new stuff today. And one scenario of this manifesting is cats doing it one by one, having the courage to do it. Be like, yo, I was on some stuff before, and I want this. I'm in that new era, that reconciliation. So I was doing this before, I'm done with that. And people are like, what's new about that? People doing that for what? People doing it thorough. And it becoming so pervasive that it becomes a culture. It becomes like, it starts trending amongst not necessarily huge numbers of people, but enough and meaningfully enough where people are like, you know what? I ain't gonna be doing this. I ain't gonna be doing that. I ain't gonna be doing that. Cat was running through women before it stopped. And reconciliation, amends, atonement, teshuva, all of that involves stopping the wrongs that we've been doing and not doing it again. So, run up on women, stop. Beefs on the street, vendettas, and additionally, stop. And it gets serious because people will be like, not all cuts might be on that. So, he's done this. Yeah, we'll see about that. So, it takes some courage for that. Stealing, scheming, this and the other, stop. Drinking it up, smoking it up, this and the other, stop. And it might seem like getting back into that rote kind of like preachy ethics kind of thing, but that's part of what atonement is. It's part of what the discipline is. But the consideration is that through that awakening, those individuals who are courageous to stand up and proclaim that and to be that, to practice that, encouraging with others within whatever religion people belong to, whatever it is, there being an awakening saying, yeah, you know what, there's this thing going on. See, the thing is, often people just need an excuse. People need a reason to do what's right. And if people do it on one's own, then people are criticized for that. People are scrutinized for that. Oh, he's doing this, and he thinks he's doing that. Why is he doing that? What's his reason for that? But if it starts to become a thing of like, yo, I saw this thing, and it's a legit thing, not some kind of like hashtag sorry, whatever. it's a legit thing, um, then it's like, you know what? I've been thinking about that. I heard about it. I've been thinking about that, yo, and I need that. I need to do that myself, and I'm doing that. And people also hearing about it and seeing it and recognizing it and saying, oh, you know what? I appreciate that. I respect that. I don't know if I believe you all the way, but we'll see. I'm gonna give you some leeway on that, and it being enough of a thing for it to like take hold and release to the point where it becomes the era of reconciliation. And through that miracle, individually and collectively, there is liberation because it is righteous. And within righteousness, there is power, there's responsibility, and there's self determination. That's the pathway, that's the calling. So, like I said, it's unfinished. Um, that's the semblance of it. I'm gonna leave it at that for the moment. I'm pushing on the storage thing, so I'm gonna go do a part 3 on this joint just so that this takes.